All right, so empiricism is the next epistemological camp that we're going to talk about. The next major epistemological view, empiricism. And as our classmate pointed out, empiricism is sensory knowledge. It's knowledge by your five senses. Okay, that's what empiricism ultimately is. It's knowledge by experience. Okay, John Locke is really considered the founder of empiricism.
So he's not a rationalist.
He is not a rationalist.
Okay.
That is correct. He is absolutely not a rationalist.
Okay.
John Locke is not a rationalist. Okay, thank you.
Well, sorry.
Yeah, that's good. So you can draw a line and start a new category.
Okay.
Empiricism, and that was the first slide, empiricism.
Empiricism.
Empiricism. E-M-P-I-R. Okay, empiricism. I-C-I-S-M, empiricism. Alright, this is the next major epistemological view. Okay, Locke wrote an essay concerning human understanding. So if I ask who wrote that, you need to know who's that guy. I'm not big on dates, I don't care what year he was born. I do want you to know, have a general idea of who came first in the overall scheme of Western thought. So you need to know that, when we get into pre-Socratic philosophers and stuff, I want you to have a general idea of who came first. But I'm not going to ask you who was born in 1632, so you don't have to worry about that.
Okay. You said this was a second or something about the epistemological.
Second major epistemological view.
Okay, so what was the first? All this stuff.
Rationalism.
Oh, okay. Right.
Rationalism is the first, empiricism is the second.
Okay, so rationalism.
So these are the two big ones. And then there's going to be a third that comes along later. So you need to know which came first. Okay, so we've got really empiricism was the way things kind of overall went in philosophy before. I mean, that was kind of the major assumption. People kind of assumed empiricism more so. And then when Descartes came on the scene, he proposes that we look at it a different way. He had a very good argument, and he turned a lot of people more toward the rationalist camp. But there's been a major debate, for centuries over which is the superior knowledge, rational knowledge or empirical knowledge. And John Locke is really the kind of the champion. He's considered the father of empiricism, even though people believed in, assumed we learn by our senses. A lot of people assume that before. He comes out and argues for this is the superior way to know things. All right, this is the only true knowledge is empirical knowledge. All right. And he comes up with a concept called tabula rasa. Now, what that basically means is blank slate, white paper, however you want to translate that out of Latin. Okay, in our language, it's blank slate, basically, is what he's saying. That's what he's getting at.
So there's
tabula rasa, blank slate, white slate. What's that?
There's no preconceived knowledge like Plato and Socrates and stuff.
Right. Exactly. No preconceived, no innate ideas. Absolutely no. No light bulbs. Right. No innate ideas like Plato would say. No, none of that. It's not built in. You're born a blank tablet, a blank slate. You come into the world and you don't know anything. Okay. Now, in their defense, I mean, I'm not saying that obviously babies in the womb pick up on sound. We're not talking about. I'm not trying to make those kind of petty little. But ultimately, until some sort of sensory input happens, there's no knowledge, is what he's basically saying. You with me? Okay. So that's his concept. You come into this world, so to speak, a blank slate. And knowledge is imposed upon you through your senses from the outside world, in a sense. You experience anyway. I'm probably putting a little more forceful words like Kant would put. But you experience. And as you experience, that's how you know. Knowledge is direct awareness. You cannot say you know California because you have no direct awareness of California.
So
if you know, I've never been there. I can't say I know California. I've never been there. Although they, people claim to be there, from there. I had a student last semester say he was from California. I don't know. That's what he said. Might be a P.O. box in the middle of the ocean. I don't know. Okay. These guys would say you don't know California. Yes, common sense says you should believe that California exists, duh. But you don't know California because you haven't experienced it. Now, somebody in here has probably experienced it. Do we have anybody that's been to California? You've been there? Okay, so three of you have been there. I've still never been there. Been all around it, you know.
So
You
is this,
live in Washington.
Yeah, I live in Washington. I've been to as far as Portland, Oregon, but I've never made it down to California.
so is it saying if you've never experienced it, it's non-existent to you?
They're saying you don't know it. So you can't say non-existent isn't even the question. It just you don't know it. It is unknown to you.
Okay.
So in your little world, it's non-existent because you haven't experienced
Saw
it.
a deer for the first time. You see the deer, you don't know it's a deer. It's just that thing.
But you experience a deer. You can name it whatever you want. A rose by any other name is still a rose, right? You can call it whatever you want. A deer could look like a really big. I thought it was a dog when I was out hunting and I saw this thing pop up when I was younger and that's a dog out here in the woods, and that thing jumped up and took off so fast. Wow. By the time I got my weapon up, it was, I don't know where, next county probably. But, so yeah, I think it's a really big dog with a white tail. I don't know. You can name it whatever you want. It's still, you did experience that entity, that thing. So you say, I know that that's there. I know that whatever it is was there. Sasquatch or whatever you want to call that thing. Okay. Belief often accompanies knowledge and is necessary because life requires formation of beliefs where knowledge is not available. And that goes back to what you were saying. It's not existent to you, but it's not practical for me to not believe in California, especially if I'm writing a letter to someone in California. It's not very practical for me to not believe California exists. It has a PO address. There's feasibly a California. Okay? So he acknowledged there's got to be, the common sense has to kick in somewhere here. All right? He's not denying that you shouldn't believe in things outside of your realm of knowledge. But that you cannot call that true knowledge. It's just belief. I believe California exists. I don't know if California exists. There's a difference. I believe very strongly that California exists. I believe if I jumped on a plane that said Los Angeles destination, I would arrive at a place known as California. Okay? I really believe that would happen. Of course, then there's that possibility that I wouldn't arrive anywhere and my plane would wind up in the middle of the Atlantic somewhere. But, or the Pacific, I guess, in that case. These are things that we have to do. We have to form beliefs because that's just how we function in life. All right. Another empiricist. Another empiricist is David Hume. We're going to talk about the three British empiricists. The first one was John Locke, that we already talked about. The next one is going to be David Hume. David Hume was an interesting character. He said some stuff that was, he kind of gets your attention. He said once that basically something along the lines, if I may paraphrase, that our rationality is a slave to our desires. Our rational thought is a slave to our desires. So, in other words, what you really, really want, your logic is going to follow suit with it. And it's interesting he said that, what you want to believe in, for example, if you choose to want to believe in, that there are beings on another planet that are alive, intelligent beings. If you choose to believe in that direction, then your rationality would follow suit with, well, let's start investigating. Let's spend millions of dollars on space programs, and let's, because your desire is to go and to believe that. Okay, so your rational mind follows suit with, well, what's the logical thing to do if that's what we believe, right? However, if you chose not to believe that there are beings on another planet of intelligent life, then you're not going to spend millions of dollars on space programs trying to find these things, right?
A lot of people say, why go out and you don't know out there instead of delving deeper into the ocean and oceanography and stuff like that.
Stuff life is, yeah. Interesting point. That's interesting, and it's that knowing versus strong belief. There's strong beliefs in something being out there, so there's these programs, there's stuff going on trying to find that information out. All right. But that's kind of a side note. Basically, David Hume's, is particularly known for being an empiricist. He adopts Locke's concept of the blank paper, whatever you want to call it, the tabula rasa theory, and he develops a copy theory of ideas.